Right. Well, I think that the headline today is that we had one of the better GDP releases that we've ever seen. It was absolutely in the sweet spot of what you want to see. There was really high income growth. There was 3% GDP growth, and inflation, core inflation, CPI dropped all the way down to 2.1%, which is just what the Fed's target is. And so all that's happening while we've got 170 billion flowing in tariff revenue, which everybody said was going to make inflation take off and give us a recession. And instead, we're seeing the exact opposite. And so it's a really beautiful day in economic data land. And I think financial markets need to understand that when you have supply side booms like we're creating under Trump's agenda, then that doesn't create inflation. It creates growth, but not inflation, because the more supply you have, the lower prices are.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Great America Show. It's great to have you with us. I guess any day that Donald Trump is our president, it's a good day in America. Very promising economic numbers out today from the Fed. Inflation is low. Consumer sentiment is high. The economy is doing great. So why won't Jerome Powell give the American people, you and I, a break? It's not just Donald Trump he's hurting. It's not just the economy he's hurting. He's hurting us. People who want to buy homes, the people who want to buy things, and are getting absolutely killed by interest rates. Donald Trump had a few words for Jerome Powell earlier this afternoon, speaking at the White House. Take a listen to his message for how Jerome Powell is hurting the American people.
What you do is you lower them, and let's see if there's inflation. Right now, there's no inflation. Everybody thought there would be. All we have is billions of dollars of cash pouring into our country from other countries that took advantage of us for many, many years. You know, they were taken advantage of. We were like the stupid people that didn't know what they were doing. They took advantage of us. Other countries, friend and foe. And by the way, the friend was oftentimes much worse than the foe when it comes to trade. So if that happens, what you do is you raise your rates and you do what you have to do to stop inflation. But we're keeping the rates high, and it's hurting people from buying houses, and we don't want that. If for any reason that happened in a year or two, if there's some signs of inflation coming back, right now there's not. We have a great thing going. I think we're going to have the richest economy you've ever seen. We have money coming in that we've never even thought about at numbers that nobody's ever seen before. We have a deal with Japan where they're going to pay us $550 billion. We have a deal with Europe where they're doing $750 billion plus $400 billion plus $300 billion. And many other countries, it's likewise, you know, relatively, those are two big ones, but likewise. So we have a lot of money coming in, and we have no inflation, and we're very strong, and we should be lowering the rates. You know, each point that this gentleman keeps up costs us $365 billion a year. Think of that. 1 point, $365 billion. If you bring it down a point, we save 365. We should be the lowest interest rate, and we're not. We're 38, number 38, because of the Fed. It's all because of the Fed. He's done a bad job. Now, he's got a meeting today, but I call him too late. You know, he's always too late. Even if he does it today, probably won't. I hear they're going to do it in September, not today. For what reason? Nobody knows, but Europe, as you know, cut their rates 11 times in the last short period of time. But the good news is we're doing better than anybody anywhere in the world. Nobody's doing anything even close to us, even with the higher rates. The higher rates do affect housing, though, because people can't go out and get a loan or refinance their house. And it would be nice to have them be able to do that. That would be just another check of a box. That would be very important. Yeah.
Now, to put it in perspective, where we sit right now with our interest rate, where it's at right now, we're in the margin of where China, South Korea, Saudi Arabia, Brazil, Philippines, and Indonesia all sit. We're in between those 4 or 5 countries, whereas other countries are absolutely killing us. You look at countries like Switzerland, and they're able to be way more competitive than we are. We're killing ourselves with our own interest rate. So, as I said, very good economic numbers out today. And the Marxist leftists don't really like when America's doing well because, well, Donald Trump is our president. Jim Cramer couldn't contain his excitement today on air. Now, this is Jim Cramer, the man who promised the economy was going to crash because of President Trump's tariffs. He promised everything Donald Trump did was going to crash the economy. It turns out none of it's ever been true. Jim Cramer is probably one of the dumbest people on planet Earth, let alone on television. Take a listen to Jim Cramer and that excitement that he could barely contain earlier this morning.
Our biggest problem is we have so much growth that the Fed won't cut. What the fuck? Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh, my
God. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I take it right back.
Everybody,
I take it right
okay.
back.
It's
That was
okay.
big.
It's okay. We're in the moment.
It's live television.
It's just the way
I take it right back. That was big.
It's cable with a ticker, as Joe Cronin would say.
I take that back.
That's right.
Real people doing live TV.
No.
Jim, though, to your point,
take it back.
Goldman today, the most notable change.
I think I'm out of here.
No, you're fine. Right. You're absolutely
Goldman
fine.
today, the most notable.
You want me to say one?
No, I just feel like enough with the rate cut and the economy's booming.
Let Carl talk now.
Goldman today, most notable change since the June Fed meeting.
Oh, boy, Cramer can barely contain his excitement. He just wants to be right all the time. The problem is he's never right. So with all this comes as Jerome Powell, whose days seem to be numbered, if not somehow fired or resign, he will be out before the next year, the next 12 calendar months. I believe it's about 8 months he has left on his term. He'll be gone, so President Trump will have the opportunity to put in some of his own people. Scott Bessent, top of that list right now. So Powell announcing today's FOMC meeting that they're expected to keep interest rates steady for the 5th time since December, of course, despite this massive pressure from President Trump wanting America to be competitive on the world stage. So it's unclear who Powell is rooting for, who he wants to see winning, but it's not America and it's not Donald Trump. Speaking of winning, a man who's sort of went off into the sunset nicely now, Elon Musk, you all remember a month ago, proposed his, quote, America Party, getting ready to launch it. There's one problem. No formal paperwork has been filed yet, fueling speculation that the so-called America Party was little more than an empty threat from Elon Musk. He's had a lot of them towards President Trump and his passive-aggressive nature since leaving the White House. Musk's reason for starting that third party was ostensibly because of the passing of that reconciliation bill, the big, beautiful bill, which he criticized for failing to tackle the issue of fiscal deficit, which every single Republican has failed to be held responsible since taking the oath of office. I think it's business as usual now in Washington, D.C., to not be able to balance a budget. President Trump playing 5D chess, as he usually does, firing the federal prosecutor appointed to replace Alina Habba as the U.S. Attorney of New Jersey. That's right. Last week, it was reported that U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi promptly removed Alina Habba's replacement after a group of district court judges voted to oust Habba as the interim U.S. Attorney of New Jersey. Now, a group of federal judges last Tuesday declined to extend Habba's term as that interim U.S. Attorney of Jersey after Democrat Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries launched a pressure campaign to oust her. Habba's term as interim U.S. Attorney was set to expire last Friday, just at midnight. But last Tuesday, after the pressure campaign, Jeffries' district court judges voted to oust Habba as that attorney and replace her with Desiree Lee Grace. Alina Habba geniusly announced just before that she would be resigning her post a little bit early. So Donald Trump wins once again, as he's now got Alina Habba coming back in as U.S. Attorney of the great state of New Jersey. And Habba, I have to say, has done a tremendous job so far in New Jersey, going after that Marxist rogue Democrat, letting her know, when they raided that whole ICE facility, letting them know they're not going to be able to get away with this sort of lawfare anymore. Lawfare is done in America. It ended back in November, and it was reassured that it ended on January 20th of this year. It won't be tolerated anymore. We're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, there's a lot to get to. Kash Patel has some breaking news out today about those documents. Remember Russiagate, 2016, when they tried to ruin Donald Trump's life? Well, I mean, they've been trying to ruin his life for the last 10 years, but this is when it all started. Russiagate, the Russia collusion hoax. Remember when Donald Trump colluded with Vladimir Putin to steal the 2016 election? Yeah, I don't remember it either because it never happened. Kash Patel has just uncovered thousands of documents that were set to be destroyed by the FBI. We're going to take a quick break here. When we return, we're going to take that up and so much more. Stay with us. We're coming right back.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. You know, I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, MyPillows, towels, slippers, blankets.
I'm interrupting this commercial to do something I've never done before. Get 2 MyPillows absolutely free on orders of $100 or more. I can't do this forever, so get on board with this great sale today. Our best-selling 6-piece bath towel sets or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Our famous standard MyPillows only $14.98. Queens $18.98. King size only $1 more. Body pillows $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase $9.98. Save $40 on our spring percale and Giza Dream bed sheet sets. Any size, any color. So go to MyPillow.com or call that number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And when you spend $100 or more, get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Thanks for staying with us, folks. So Russia collusion. We all know it was a hoax. Donald Trump told us it was a hoax, and he's fairly never wrong, at least on most issues. And that was one of the things. So now Kash Patel's in charge of the FBI, but Kash Patel goes way back with Devin Nunes and their time in Congress working on investigating these crooked FBI and criminal DOJ officials. Take a listen. I want to play this clip for you. It's a little bit long, but I want to play it for you. Back when Kash Patel and Devin Nunes put out a movie on the Russia collusion hoax. I want you to take a listen just on how intent Kash Patel is on getting these perpetrators. Take a listen.
Through our investigative process, we found out that a firm representing Christopher Steele, Fusion GPS, was somehow involved in the matter.
Following the money. If we could follow the money, we would ultimately figure out who was paying Fusion GPS.
I walked him through the investigation. I said, this is why I think this happened. This source said X. We can prove it if we subpoena the bank. And he's like, you want to subpoena a bank? I said, Devin, give me one subpoena, and if I'm wrong, you can fire me. He gave me the subpoena, and we went after the bank. It wasn't like we served the subpoena and everybody went away. Fusion GPS forced us into federal court into litigation over the subpoena itself. And that was when everybody was like, we're on to something.
Fusion GPS is a very, they're very talented at what they do. They're a racketeering outfit. They're essentially, they make things up about people. They spread it to the people in the press. They get them to run the fake news stories. And then even worse, then they find different ways to feed it into the FBI.
And all of these things sort of started coming together in a very unusual fashion. I said, Devin, we're following the money, and I'm going to tell you right now that the DNC and Hillary paid for this. It was 9 a.m. on a weekday, and he literally looks at me, he goes, Kash, if you're going to start drinking this morning, get out of my office. It always goes back to the money, and it's the easiest thing to follow because you have to document it in some fashion, or you got to move it in some way. We were able to, pursuant to the judge's authority, allow myself and one other colleague to visit banks' attorneys and review in closed session the records. And we were not allowed to disclose it to anybody what we reviewed. And then finally, on the eve of the ruling of the court, Fusion disclosed that Christopher Steele had been paid by the DNC themselves. There were names that would eventually come out that were being paid by Fusion. Names now that are public, but at the time weren't. Nellie Orr, the wife of Bruce Orr, was being paid by Fusion GPS. We would come to learn to do Russian intelligence information gathering and then submit it to the FBI. We were able to figure out that the attorneys, Perkins Coie, were the attorneys for the DNC. Nellie had been working, Bruce's wife, had been working for Fusion GPS. The folks that Perkins Coie paid $10 million to, and then they took that $10 million and paid Christopher Steele $168,000 to dig up dirt. They paid Nellie Orr, I think, $50,000 to do her research against the president and his daughter. And they fed all of that directly to the Bureau, who then used it in the FISA and in the investigation against the president. So now you've connected the money and the people and put the political party right in the middle of your opponent. It's outrageous.
So this is Kash Patel, as I said, years before becoming the director of the FBI. This is an issue that Kash has taken head on and has talked about since President Trump left office in 2020 and since President Trump took office in 2016, including those few years gap. So the big news out today, Kash Patel has reportedly found a trove of sensitive documents related to the origins of the Russia collusion hoax. He says they were, quote, buried in multiple bags in a secret room inside the Bureau. Now, the burn bag system is used to destroy documents designated as classified or higher. So very interesting. Sources are saying that multiple burn bags were found and filled with thousands and thousands of documents. That is absolutely unbelievable. One of the documents the FBI officials found in that burn bag was a classified annex to former special counsel John Durham's final report, which includes the underlying intelligence he reviewed. Now, why did that come out the first time when John Durham put out his investigation? The declassification of the classified annex is being done in close coordination between CIA Director John Ratcliffe, Kash Patel, and Tulsi Gabbard, along with Pam Bondi and Acting National Security Director William Hartman. Now, as I just said, in 2023, Special Counsel John Durham released his final report, concluding that the FBI had no verified intel when it opened Crossfire Hurricane, the investigation which they used to investigate President Trump in 2016. President Trump declassified that binder on January 19th of 2021, just a day before he left office. Now, it was given to John Solomon, and those of you who join us on the show have heard John Solomon tell us the story about what happened to those documents. Solomon was given those documents, the Crossfire Hurricane documents. He was given them and was told that they are to be embargoed until the following day when President Trump left office. It's a common practice that is used inside, government agencies. So Solomon started scanning those documents into his system so that when the embargo was lifted, he'd be able to get them out through his organization, Just the News. He started scanning those documents, putting them into the system, and the FBI came to his office and asked for that binder back. But they promised that binder would be returned to him shortly thereafter. Now, Solomon was owed another binder and that one that they came and took. You could probably guess how this story ends. Solomon was never given back that binder, the initial one, and he was never given the second one that President Trump declassified. Now, it's unclear if these are the documents that have been found in these burn bags, but it's highly suspicious, number one, that these documents would still be sitting down in a room. Is someone trying to implicate somebody? Is someone from the Obama, Biden White House trying to implicate somebody? Or are they just trying to cover their rear ends? It's unclear, but these documents now expected to start coming out next week, according to CIA Director John Ratcliffe. So it's going to be interesting to see what the FBI was so worried about coming out, what they were so terrified about all of us finding out after Donald Trump left office. Now, at this point, President Trump hadn't been indicted 150 times. He wasn't facing 900 years in jail. But I guess the Marxist Dems knew that Donald Trump was going to run again because he had just been stolen, an election stolen from him, and he wasn't going to go out like that. So as I often say, Donald Trump is the only man who's won 3 elections, the only president who's won 3 elections. So John Solomon is now declaring that Barack Hussein Obama can be compelled to testify before a grand jury, and he cannot invoke the Fifth Amendment due to his presidential immunity. That's the immunity that the Supreme Court granted President Trump when he was going through those witch hunt cases that the Marxist Dems brought to him. But here's the kicker. If Obama lies as a private citizen about what he did during his presidency, that immunity evaporates, potentially exposing him to criminal prosecution. Once called before a grand jury, Obama must testify under oath, and if he misrepresents or lies under any matter related to his official conduct, as I said, he loses that immunity. A single moment as a private citizen could nullify the entire blanket he once relied upon and was very upset when President Trump was granted it. Take a listen to John Solomon this afternoon on Obama testifying.
I know President Trump has every right to be frustrated with him. I think President Trump's analysis last week was right. I think my immunity rule might protect him on the original charges. That's what most legal experts tell me, that ruling is so sweeping it will protect Obama for what he did in office. However, Barack Obama can now be summoned before a grand jury. He cannot take the Fifth Amendment because he has immunity from prosecution. He'll have to tell the truth. If he lies as a private citizen about what he did as president, he'll no longer have that immunity. And that is a trap that Obama is sitting potentially facing. And I want to say the irony to that, because on January 5th, 2017, he presided over a meeting in the White House where the FBI had just cleared Mike Flynn of any wrongdoing. And they schemed in that meeting how they might be able to jam up Mike Flynn. And they came up with the idea, we'll lure him into an interview, catch him into a lie, and then prosecute him that way. Barack Obama now is about to face a potential similar situation as the one he created unfairly for Mike Flynn.
I think all of us here would love nothing more than to see Barack Hussein walked out in an orange jumpsuit. That would be a day made for a lot of people. A day coming for him that he clearly deserves. We're going to take one more quick break here, folks. When we return, there's another member of Congress, there's another person in Washington, D.C. who deserves to go to jail. Well, I shouldn't say there's one. There's probably a few hundred of them. But one in particular that we've all been waiting for, who commits a crime every single day, a stock trade is made. We're coming right back with that story. Stay with us.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Thanks for staying with us, folks. So, a few weeks ago, we got the Epstein video. The video that showed he didn't kill himself, or rather, he did kill himself. I'm so caught up here with remembering what we're supposed to believe and what we actually truly believe. So that video that came out a few weeks ago, that was released by the Bureau of Prisons, that showed that Epstein was in the cell by himself. He indeed did kill himself. He hung himself with his CPAP machine or his blankets or whatever he used to kill himself. There was one problem. When that video was released showing his prison door, first of all, it wasn't even the prison door cell that he was in that they released, looking at every schematic that we've ever been showed about Epstein and his whereabouts on the day he was killed, August 9th of 2019. So the FBI is now telling us that the Bureau of Prisons and the Department of Justice Inspector Generals are in possession of a copy that now, remember the infamous tape that was released? There was a minute that was missing. Pam Bondi came out and said the next day that it's like that in every single one since 1980 or 90 or whatever she said, that a minute is missing every single day, and that 1 minute is missing. It turns out the video now exists with that minute that's not missing anymore. So who are we to believe here? Pam Bondi, who's told us the documents are on her desk. Pam Bondi, who told us Jeffrey Epstein did this, this, and this. And now I know you guys are all tired of hearing about it. I'm tired of talking about it. It's very simple how we handle this situation. You put everything out there. The public's right to know. And you shut us all up while we review what was promised to us. So back to the video, Bondi told us that it's missing. The same minute's missing for the last 30 years. Turns out that's not exactly the case, as there is a video that exists and that minute is in there. So we'll keep you up to date on how that progresses and what we learn from there and what we figure out from there. But truly something that we'll keep our eye on. So that member of Congress I was talking about, it's a person who's very, very rich, making just $174,000 a year. And I say that because she lives in a very nice area in California. Of course, $174,000 a year is a lot of money to make, but she's making a lot more than that. It's in the tens of millions a year. And it's Nancy Pelosi, and I think Donald Trump is tired of her, as he should be. Take a listen.
You know, Nancy Pelosi became rich by having inside information. She made a fortune with her husband, and I think that's disgraceful. So in that sense, I'd like it, but I'd have to really see I study these things very carefully, and this just happened. So I'll take a look at it. But conceptually, I like it. And what I do think is Nancy Pelosi should be investigated, because she has the highest return of anybody practically in the history of Wall Street, save a few. How did that happen? It happened by she knows exactly what's going to happen, what's going to be announced. She buys stock, and then the stock goes up after the announcement's made. And she ought to be investigated.
Be investigated indeed. And I just want to go over some of Pelosi's stock trades that we're all being kept in the dark about. So her 2023 performance, Nancy Pelosi's portfolio, managed, of course, by her husband, who's got some issues of his own, reportedly achieved a 65% return, nearly triple the S&P 500, which was 23% for that year. This outperformed many hedge funds, with the largest U.S. hedge funds being Bridgewater Associates, losing 7.5% in comparison. Some of her notable trades in the last 3 years: Paul Pelosi purchased NVIDIA call options in November of 2021 with the reported gains of nearly $4 million by June of 2024. That's a 210% return. Not too bad. Paul Pelosi also bought Alphabet in June of 2021, 40 call options, 4,000 shares, $1,200 each, when the stock was trading at about $2,500, yielding about $5.3 million in profits. The list goes on and on and on just why Nancy Pelosi, being as old as she is, still travels 6 hours a week, 6 hours each way, 12 hours a week to go to work in Washington, D.C. for $174,000. It doesn't make much sense. So just as Donald Trump was investigated for not allegedly, he was investigated for paying back his loans on time and had a schedule with interest payments, but he was slapped on the wrist for that with a few $100 million fine. Just as he was put through that, I think we need to find out how Nancy Pelosi is such a successful stock trader, or her husband rather, and why he's not running Bridgewater or Renaissance. I mean, one of these massive hedge funds. He could be making tens of millions of dollars a year with whatever algorithmic trading he's using. We need to start seeing some indictments out of D.C. President Trump sat down with Miranda Devine of the New York Post while he was over in Scotland. And he talked about a question I think we all wonder: why Hillary Clinton was never prosecuted for the crimes she committed.
Yeah. So, we had Hillary Clinton down to whatever we wanted to do with her, and I felt it was inappropriate. She's the wife of a president. She was a Secretary of State, and we could have done a very big number.
Yeah.
And I said, we don't want to be doing that. Let's, put it into the country and not the concept of putting her in jail, indicting her, all the things that you have to do. It's tough stuff. And I said, we don't want to do that. In fact, you remember I made speeches when I mentioned her name. They started to lock her up. Yeah. And I said, no, this is after we won. We just won. And I said, we have to get back to, we want to heal. And yet they did it to me.
Yeah.
So I feel differently. I mean, I'm a human being. I have my feelings too. And so I feel differently about it. Obama, what he did was terrible. What Brennan did, and Clapper and Comey and all these lightweights, they're stupid people actually, but what they did, and so unnecessary. And they made it really hard. But ultimately, I don't know, they toughen you up. You either learn that you can do that. How many people could handle that?
Yeah.
I've had so many people said, how did you handle that every day? And they come up with these different different scams. They're all scams, and they're still doing it. They're doing it now.
I often say it on this show. I believe if Donald Trump had indicted Hillary Clinton on the various crimes that she committed, things would be a lot different for him and how they decided they wanted to politically persecute him, not prosecute for the crimes that he didn't actually commit. Some people want to see Donald Trump winning. Some don't. Some Republicans don't want to see him winning. Some would rather see him in a penitentiary, to quote a very famous song lyrics. Chuck Grassley, clearly a rhino. Donald Trump helped get him reelected, lashing out at Donald Trump after President Trump called on him to ditch the little-known tradition that has allowed the Dems to stonewall President Trump's nominations. Take a listen to what Grassley had to say.
Last night, I was surprised to see President Trump on Truth Social go after me and Senate Republicans over what we call the blue slip. Now, to people in the real America, not here in this Washington, D.C. and island surrounded by reality, the people in real America don't care about what the blue slip is, but in fact it impacts in their states the district judges who serve their communities and the U.S. attorneys who ensure the law and order is enforced. I was offended by what the president said, and I'm disappointed that it would result in personal insults. Now, we're here to do business. That's a very important part of this committee's work, to do our constitutional duties of reviewing people that require Senate confirmation. Good morning.
If you could understand what Grassley said there, this is part of the issue with these career-long politicians. I mean, they go there when they're young and they stay there until they die. Now, what President Trump was referring to, the Senate Judiciary Chair, who's Grassley, is not supposed to proceed with federal district level judicial and prosecutorial nominees unless both senators in that state sign off on documents on the nominees with this thing called the blue slip. That means that Donald Trump can't get any district judges or attorneys approved in states like California, Nevada, New York, and Illinois unless they get both Dem senators to sign off. You can't get them approved in states, one GOP senator like Pennsylvania or Wisconsin, unless the Democrat senator in those states also give them the green light. This is what we saw happen with Alina Habba. So now you're wondering what can happen here. So Grassley has the option to remove that blue slip and move forward with these people. But there's also another option, and it's one that President Trump personally asked Senate Majority Leader John Thune, who's supposed to be a Republican, who's supposed to be MAGA, that's what he tells us, to do. President Trump posting on Truth Social the other day, quote, hopefully the very talented John Thune, fresh off many victories over the past 2 weeks, and indeed 6 months, will cancel August recess and long weekends in order to get my incredible nominees confirmed. We need them badly, DJT. So how it works is if John Thune were to go ahead and proceed with that, by giving these senators recess, President Trump can do recess appointments where he'll be able to push these people through without these Marxist Dems who are trying to stonewall. But no, turns out John Thune's going to keep them there for a few days during the recess, so President Trump will not be able to get through his nominees. This is what we're working with here. So for the people who get mad at me for going after Republicans on the show each and every day, you've got to ask yourself, what are these people doing for the party? What are they doing for MAGA? President Trump has approximately 135 outstanding appointments remaining, and most are going to remain on standby until the Senate returns in September because he will not let them do the Senate recess appointments. So I ask you for one favor, and I don't ask you guys for much on this show. If you donate money to the Republicans, stop. Do not give another dollar to the RNC, the NRSC, any of these outfits, because this is how they're playing ball with President Trump. There was a referendum. You hear me say it every day on the show back in November. And some of these Marxist Dems just don't want to get on board with MAGA because they think that when Donald Trump's out of office in 3.5 years, that MAGA's gone. It's not the case. Nobody's ever going back to that country club Republican Party of George W. Bush. Those days are over. Before we wrap up, I want to send a quick word of prayer to my good friend who I exchanged texts with today, Congressman Tim Burchett from the great state of Tennessee. It's reported that Congressman Burchett went to the hospital on Sunday with a broken rib after his horse kicked him in his chest. You often see Burchett posting videos with his donkeys and horses. Burchett assures me that he's great, and the show goes on. He said to me, that daggum horse, and I won't relay the rest of the message. But Burchett is doing great, and we want to send him our prayers that he's doing well. Folks, tomorrow we're going to be doing the show an hour later than usual. We're traveling back to the States. So, as you know, we do the show live every day. We want to see you there tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern for the Great America Show. Until then, folks, may God bless you. May God bless America. And may God bless the great Lou Dobbs. We'll see you tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern. Have a great night, everybody.